A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Matt Williams got a brilliant start from the third row of the grid.
He's gone, he's hit him, he's straight off at the chase.
And a half-second lead on with the sizzling car in the background.
He has it. Oh, he's round on the last lap.
There's a massive accident.
Next to the inside, what a move, what a move.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 11 of the AMS Oz Supercars Championship for 2020. It's a split round this time around over 2 consecutive weeks. Given it's the fact it's a 250 kilometre race for this particular round. The qualifying and top 10 shootout takes place tonight, followed by the 250 kilometre or 57 lap event here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit next Thursday night. It's something we do that's a little bit different. We only do it a couple of times a year, and this is the second and final time that we will do it this year. Last time we did it, it was back at the very first round at Adelaide, where we had a full grid and a very, very hotly contested top 10 shootout. Going to be a little bit different tonight. There's not a huge number of drivers present, just enough to get us over the mark to make sure we have a top 10 shootout. There are a couple of drivers not here tonight that will be here next week, filling in for some of the other drivers. A couple of people away with commitments as well. But nonetheless, it's all about how you qualify for next week's 250k race tonight. And that's all we're going to be interested in. My name's Steve DeVries, and I'm always joined as ever by Hans Brunswick.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully we can see a good night's racing. Not a good night's racing, but a good night's qualifying tonight. Some Hollywood lap times being set later on in the session. That's what we're all looking forward to around this fantastic Phillip Island facility. A good track and a personal favourite of ours that we love visiting.
Yeah, absolutely. I spend a fair bit of my time down there most of the year. Very, very little this year, unfortunately, given the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But it's a very, very picturesque circuit. It's a very, very cold circuit. So when you go there, you've always got to be prepared for the elements. But it's a very, very good spectator viewing circuit. Just about full 360-degree views from just about every vantage point you can imagine here. So it is a personal favourite for some of us. It's a personal favourite for you and I because we did our racing down there when we did Aussie Driver Search and got our race licences as well.
Yeah, that's right. We did have a good time. It was a good day out back then, back in 2018, I think it was. And yeah, we spent plenty of time down there with the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club. A great club. They're all about access to motorsport, and they put on a lot of great events at that facility. Unfortunately, not this year with COVID, but they do a fantastic job. So I guess we can faithfully recreate it right now tonight with our qualifying night for the Phillip Island 250.
Yeah, absolutely right. We'll do our very, very best to put all the pandemic stuff aside tonight and focus in on the important stuff, which is the qualifying. Well, we'll also focus in on this, the last recap from the previous round, which was the Sydney Super Night 200, held under dusk conditions at Sydney Motorsport Park. A much, much larger field than tonight, and as ever, Kurt Stenberg, very, very good off the line every single round this year, and no exceptions again. Got the jump on Will Devenish, and he pretty much flew the flag solo. He was very much uncontested for the entire race. Early shenanigans on lap 1, a couple of dives, a few drivers just basically playing follow the leader in the opening laps as well, as the field snaked their way around the Sydney Motorsport Park facility. A couple of early casualties. Termo was one of them by pure accident. Debutant Dane Liccardo getting into the back of him at the final corner. The warning was suffice for that. Glenn Miles was another one, just looping it at the infield hairpin at turn 8. And a bit further up the field, early in the going here, Will Devenish just sort of lost a little bit of his rhythm. He was under siege from Pete Savage, who took away position 2 for the early going, and much of the race, Savage was ahead of Devenish. Following this pass, Devenish should come back a little bit later on in proceedings. Mistake from Caelan Duncan, exiting turn 3 and collecting Rhodey on the way before the first sequence of stops. We go on board here with Luke Rosella, committing to the pass on Brenton Foley at turn number 1. Foley did really well just to try and stay with it there, and having to avoid the Volvo of Wayne Spencer coming out of the lane as well, causing a little bit of a concertina effect down here at turn 1. Everybody having to check up and find their groove again as everyone tried to make a pass. Each other. A little bit of tagging there from Steve Burko on the back of Luke Rosella. But a lot of the going early on, as we said, was just follow the leader. Foley leading a couple of cars and out in front, second, third and fourth, following each other. And after their little skirmish, these two started to find each other, Dane Liccardo and Turmo, and Cam Rutledge was in the mix there as well. These guys were in a bit of a spirited battle for the majority of the race, very hard to separate. A couple of guys got turn 1 wrong. Steve Burko was one of those that got turn 1 wrong on this particular occasion. Coughed up a position to Luke Rosella at turn 1, who needed no invitation to seize that position away. After the pit stop sequence, Pete Savage has been put under pressure by Will Devenish and took that position back for P2. And here are the two chargers that were in that battle we spoke about before. Dane Liccardo, the young bull, Cam Rutledge, the seasoned veteran, going toe-to-toe as the sun began to set. And we neared the second round of pit stops. Just before that second round of pit stops, Zach Ross decided he was game to have a go at Dane Liccardo's Volvo. And through turn 1, he was pushing the limit. He was pushing really, really hard in this Monster Energy FGX Falcon, looking at every possible avenue. Dane defending very, very well for his first outing, not only to keep Zach Ross behind him, but to make sure that Cam Rutledge didn't try and stick his nose in there somewhere when an advantage is being taken. You could just see the attitude of the FGX as Zach Ross applied the blowtorch for at least 2 or 3 consecutive laps. And he would finally get the move done. This move down here at turn 4. Got the pass done, got alongside, opened up steering, cut off the avenue for Dane to attempt to repass him. And that's the way you make the passing move stick at just about every circuit. But he was right on the edge there, Zach Ross. Second round of stops, and then we started to see the bizarre. A slew of pit lane speeding penalties. Pete Savage was first, followed by Brenton Foley, locking it up and just avoiding the tyre barrier on the run to pit entry. And then if it didn't go from bad to worse, it went to the downright disastrous. And Will Devenish got himself a penalty for the same thing as well. 3 drivers unable to get down to the pit lane speed limit. All of them did a drive-through penalty as a result. A little bit of lawn mowing for Rhodey on pit exit there, just a little bit of inattentive driving. And some of the drivers opted to switch their headlights on as the dust began to fall. This was the last of the casualties. Liam Spencer, same sort of thing that Caelan Duncan did out of turn 4, turn 3 rather, getting some damage. That ended up in a puncture for him and had to come in for an unexpected and very, very late stop, which dropped him down the order. The dominant win in the end, though. Kurt Stenberg, unheaded for the entire duration of the race. Another race victory. Drove absolutely flawlessly. So the race results from that one. A big 46-second win for Luke Rosella, who clambered his way up the order after all the drive-through penalties to Devenish, Savage and Foley had unfolded. Devenish came back at him late, but could only manage third, and only the top 5 getting home on the lead lap. Debutant Dane Liccardo finishes in 12th, picks up some points, just outside the top 10 along with Cam Rutledge. Well, that was Sydney, Hans. It was a bit of an unusual one, given that the daylight turned into dusk, and as the dusk began to fall, we saw some really, really odd penalties. Those drive-throughs were a big head-scratcher.
Yeah, definitely. The sort of penalties we weren't expecting, especially for 3 drivers, let alone 1 driver, to just be able to get a penalty like that. But there was a speed limit board at the near end of pit lane. So when you were coming in, it said 60, and I think that caught a few drivers out, not realizing that at all the tracks we go to, it is a 40 kilometre an hour fixed speed limit. So bad luck for those guys, but it definitely did throw a spanner into the works for them.
Yeah, threw a spanner into the works, not just in the manner for the drivers, but in terms for the championship as well, because it's meant that on the point standings, Will Devenish lost a lot more of his advantage. He was set to, of his deficit to Kurt Stenberg. He was set to take second place until all that unfolded, and he ended up finishing third, so more points go begging for the CRE Motorsport driver. Still second in the championship. Foley's still third to Kurt Stenberg, and this is starting to get a little bit out of hand now. These guys are very, very quickly running out of time to catch him. Hans, our driver in focus this week is the one and only Termo. So he's someone here at AMS Oz that gets his hands into just about every series you can imagine, loves his driving, and he's actually done pretty well in a number of series. You can see some of his results there from 2020 on the right-hand side. First in the Track Day Challenge Championship with 8 wins out of, I think it was 16 races, so that's pretty spectacular. A couple of other series that he's competed in this year, TCAC all-wheel drive and TCR with some wins as well, and a couple still ongoing. Super 2's over and done with. GT3's is about to finish up, so that's why there's the stars next to the 10th place. There's still one round to go, and the one we couldn't squeeze onto that board is the ATCC, but he's not doing too badly in that either.
Yeah, he's a solid performer. Whatever he puts his bum in, he's able to ring that car along and put in some good results, especially in the TCAC all-wheel drive series. He finished third in the championship behind rampaging pair of SSR drivers, Scott Nolan and Brendan Hobson, who took another championship in that series. And he did score 2 wins. And one of those wins was at the final round at Pukekohe. So a great win there. And like you said, champion of the Track Day Cup with 8 wins, winning pretty much half the races on offer. And TCR, solid performer there, as well as Super 2. And in GT3, he has put on a good race on occasion, and he's gotten the old Viper up there into a good position as well. So Termo, he does a good job no matter what car he gets in. He's always there or thereabouts, and if any of the top guys, they go wrong in any series, you can expect Termo to capitalise on it.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. And he's in it for the right reasons too. He's in there to compete, in there to have a bit of fun, and that's what we like about him. He's a man of few words sometimes, but we don't let that's, I guess, is the personality kicking in as well. And it's good to see that there's a number of guys in AMS Oz with a bit of a personality, and this man's got a beautiful personality. So we love him at AMS Oz. Team's points, again, very, very close to the top. Loose Sim Sport honing in on the back of CRE Race Engineering with a few of the penalties that have started to rack up and a few of the lower end finishes that they've not been expecting. They've ended up with that points advantage slowly diminishing. So there's still plenty of time for Loose Sim Sport to overhaul CRE Race Engineering, and then PBF Race Engineering are the only real team that are left within proper earshot of challenging for the team's title come the end of this series. So it's round 11. There's 14 rounds all up. So tonight is only the qualifying session, but next week and then 3 more after that, there is not a lot of time left for teams and drivers to sort themselves out. It's about time we have a look at this Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, and for this one we had to ring in a small favour to somebody, so let's see if you can guess who this one is. G'day guys, Steve DeVries here, out of the commentary box and back into a race car in what seems like an eternity. And for this moment, we've dusted off an old friend. This is the 1-3 Cabs Racing FGX Falcon that I piloted in ARW Season 4. So let's wind her up and go for a lap around the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Got to get a good run onto the main straight. Don't need to use any brakes through the final corner, just feather the throttle a little bit. Use a little bit of the outside curb, but not too much. We'll run down Gardner Straight towards Doohan Corner, turn 1. Pulling about 280 k's before we get to the braking zone. Down a gear, hug the inside on the right. Let the car naturally flow out to the left. Just come up a little bit off the left-hand side for this double apex, turn 2, southern loop. Pick up the second apex here and vary the throttle. We're in third gear, up to fourth. Run down the hill through Stoner Corner, turn 3. Get ready for the hardest stop on the circuit. Turn 4, Honda hairpin. Oop, just gone a little bit too deep. We can cut that back, get a late apex. Out of there, turn 5 you really don't notice. Siberia's turn 6, the left-hander. We'll take a couple of different lines through here. I like to try and get a late apex out. And then we head up through turn 7. Turn 8, past the hay shed, which which in real life has been gone since July of 2019. Whoops, a little bit of curve, a little bit of grass there rather. Just upset our line for Lukey Heights. I'm going to try and stay to the left here, come down to second gear and try and open up this corner a bit. I like to stay a little bit to the right and try and open up the second last corner, turn 11. Short shifting as well. Up to fourth gear. Again, no need for brakes, just a little bit of feathering of the throttle to try and get around the final corner, back onto the main straight, and the drag to the line, which is just at the bridge. And that's a lap at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Bit of a mix of corners this one, some fast corners, some medium speed corners and some heavy stops. It's all about being smooth, all about picking your lines and sticking to them. Good luck to all the drivers qualifying the cars tonight. We'll hope to see you in the top 10 shootout and next week on Race Day. Seriously, guys, you didn't think I was going to pass up the opportunity to do a lap of Phillip Island, did you? With all the time I spend down there, I'm sorry, I had to put myself in the hot seat for that one. Well, it wasn't the best lap, but it was a lap nonetheless, and it's a fantastic venue, Hans. Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, just short of 4.5 k's in length. The race length there next week, you can see, is going to be 57 laps or 253 k's. But one of the things I mentioned on that little bit of footage was that this place is all about being smooth. It's all about sticking to your lines, and you've got to commit at some parts of this circuit pretty heavily. Turn 1, turn 3, they are big commitment, high-speed corners. There's a big mix of corners here as well. The fast speed bends, the medium speed bends, the hard stops and the slow bends as well. So you've got to have a car that performs at just about every portion of this track.
Yeah, you're spot on there. It's a fantastic race circuit and didn't get used as much as we would have liked until the late 80s when it was reconstructed to bring the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix rather into existence, and has been a fan favourite ever since. It's a smooth bit of blacktop that runs through just on the coastline of Phillip Island. In fact, it's just near a sheer cliff, in fact, and it's a very varied circuit. A couple of good passing opportunities into turn 4 Honda Corner and turn 10 MG, and a lot of very fast turns as well. Turn 12, the Gardner Straight, the Doohan Corner, turn 1, Southern Loop, turn 2, and Stoner Corner at turn 3. All big opportunities to get the car off on the grass, and if you do get on the grass, you're very likely going into a fence. So a very high speed circuit, high average speed, and a lot of balancing the throttle and balancing the car.
Yeah, a lot of throttle modulation in some parts of this circuit, turn 12 especially, just having to modulate just to get the car to turn in so you can get on the power at precisely the right time and get down the Gardner Straight and into turn 1. It's very unnerving sometimes when you come over the rise on Gardner Straight and all you can see is a bit of blue ocean through the head, the visor of your helmet, and then as the track starts to just drop away and then you head down towards turn 1, it all sort of settles in that you're not going off into the water. The only part of this circuit that is probably not truly replicated to its full extent in the sim is turn 1. In real life, it is actually cambered in very slightly to the right, so you can use that camber to just hold the car into turn 1 as well. So it's one thing the drivers probably haven't had a chance to really see in real life tonight, but it is something in the real world that is missing from this particular portion of the game. Other than that, it's pretty much almost spot on in just about every location. There's your qualifying records and your race records down the bottom. The only one we're really going to be interested in is the one on the top, which is Brenton Foley's marker from last year of a 1:31.403, which was set in a normal qualifying session, not in a shootout. So we will be interested to see whether or not that lap record, like many of the others, is going to be broken tonight.
I'd hazard a guess and say that tonight, maybe not in the shootout, but in the open qualifying session, there will be a lap that exceeds that. Kurt Stenberg has been on fire all season. He's been demolishing lap records left, right and centre. So there's no reason to expect that he can't do it. So my money would be on Stenberg to beat the lap record for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past you to agree with that. That is very, very high probability that that is going to be a very, very tough man to beat for pole position tonight. A little bit different this week as well. There is a 20-minute qualifying session. Normally it is a little bit shorter than that, and we end up with a very, very fast and frenetic session with everybody going out together. This time around 20 minutes the duration, so there's a little bit more time for drivers to come in, change tyres, change some setups, go out and try and set some quick laps, because there's only 13 drivers here in the session tonight. A couple more to come next week, but only the top 10 will progress.
Already got a couple of cars streaming out onto the track. Got Matt Cecil in a guest car, Cam Rutledge, Lime Mitch, and Kurt Stenberg already out there. Thomas McMillan, he actually has late joined to the server, and Termo is just leaving the pits now. Steve Burko, he's been recently promoted to the Blue Simsport team with the absence of Pete Savage, who would regularly occupy the car. He's actually in Lewis Wedding's car, funnily enough, so maybe a bit of superstition there, who knows?
Yeah, you're not wrong there. He's a very, very late join to the circuit. We'll see how we go. Or Mitch McGovern, or Lime Mitch, as we
He's already in the
refer to him,
fence.
is already in the fence off of turn 1, so he's going to be throwing that lap away. And McMillan is the man who was directly behind him, so that means he's going to get the honour, if we cycle to him, there he is, of being the first one to set a competitive lap time, or at least start a timed flying lap. Using all the road at turn 1. Now,
You can put quick laps in on occasion, so I wouldn't put it past him to be up there as well. So let's see what McMillan can come out with.
slightly different line through turn 2. He decided to stay a little bit tighter to the left-hand side. A lot of drivers will see doing your favourite trick, Hans, and V'ing off the corner, taking a first apex and running it out to the mid-track, and then coming back for a second apex, and then getting on the throttle
all the
down
concrete
to
apron there.
Yeah, he used a very, very large amount of the concrete apron on the run down to, well, actually on the run out of turn 4. Not sure if that's going to be costly or not. Car looked like it might have jumped sideways a little bit. At the moment, his Sectum 1 marker has already been bettered by 2 of the 3 drivers behind him. Kurt Stenberg, the quickest of those so far, at a 30.56.
107.4 at the second sector for McMillan, so we'll have a look.
36.4 middle sector then.
It was probably aborted that lap because Stenberg's done a 105.9. So very good second sector split from Stenberg.
Yeah, 1.1 seconds
Well, he
clear
gets
of
on the grass
McMillan.
there. Gets on the grass at turn 11. Run into turn 12 now. Very fast corner to end the lap.
McMillan
Opens
goes
up on the exit.
33.2 for McMillan. Stenberg drives to the line. He does a 31.6, so already within 0.2 of a second, or just slightly over 0.2 of a second away from the current qualifying lap record. Who else have we got out there at the moment? Let's go to Matt Cecil, debuting in the Supercars series tonight. Very prominent in his Super 2 exploits. I believe he actually got a race win, if memory serves me correctly, at the 3rd race at Townsville in the middle of the season. So he can win on occasion, but by his own admission, needs a little bit more seat time to improve his game. And a 33.5 is a pretty respectable first lap.
Yeah, Matt Cecil was one of the drivers in Super 2 that if he was there or thereabouts at the front of the grid in the reverse grid race, you were very hard tasked to catch him, because he does put a bunch of good races together, and he's currently racing in the ATCC series as well, and also the AMSL's Boxer Cup. So he's a bit like Termo in the sense that he drives a whole lot of machinery, and he's up on his own PB by 1/10 of a second, but he's about 4/10 down on Stenberg's best first sector. And Turbo goes up. He actually goes up to second, so very good time from Turbo there, 1:32.32. So he is, at the moment, he's up there in second, and we've still got a few cars left to go out in this session. The track usage is still light at this moment in time, so the times will only get faster, and Kurt
Track
Stenberg
record's
is
gone.
beating the lap record.
Yep, track record
So
just
the lap
went.
record. Yep, lap record, new lap record for Stenberg, 1:30.97. Very good lap.
Extremely good lap into the 30s. So only man to break a minute 31 at this point. Just as Brendan Ross went P2 as well for PBF. So not a bad effort for Brendan Ross. A couple of drivers doing some lawn mowing there. What on earth's going on? I think they're letting Will Devonish through. There he goes. So that was Steve Burko and Termo just off the line at turns 4 and 5 respectively. Turn 5, I guess, Hans, is really not even a corner because you really don't even notice it exists.
No, the run through turn 5 is just pretty much straight on. It's an inconsequential corner, and I'm surprised it's even counted as a corner at all. We just run straight through it. But if you are running side by side through there, you can get the elbows out and try and force someone out wide. But yeah, it's all about getting the good run into Siberia. Turn 6 Siberia, so named because it's miles away from everywhere. And if you do go off into the sand trap at Siberia, you are having a very long walk home back to pit lane. So furthest point on the circuit from anywhere, so wouldn't want to go off there.
Probably the coldest point on the circuit as well, given that it's out near the ocean.
Yeah, more than likely, as we are pretty much on the cusp of the Bass Strait, and as we're coming over the Gardner Strait. Oh, Line Mitch gets it all wrong going into Lukey Heights, manages to catch it.
I was just having a look at Cam Rutledge doing something similar as he was on the move through out of turn 4 as well. Let's go and see if we can have a look what happened to Lime Mitch. He was having a bit of a moment, as you were just calling, Hans, coming up over Lukey Heights. A bit of a nervous race car coming out of Siberia.
Doesn't look particularly happy at the moment. He's been complaining about the Mustang. He doesn't quite like the sensation it gives him. But
yeah, big slide on coming up around Lukey Heights, just on the entrance to Lukey Heights. Oh, and over the top as well. Yeah, very nervous race car right now, that Mustang.
But on that point, it's probably got to do with the field of view settings in the car. It's a different model compared to the other ones. It's probably got a few different measurements that make it a bit different to look out of the windscreen. So, Lime Mitch, he's been, wouldn't say he's been whinging about it, but he has been complaining about the car. He thinks it's different, or to him it feels different. And he's tried a bunch of other cars and he thinks they feel better. But we can assure you, there is the car's physics are all the same. Oh, Roddy's just gone off ahead of Lime Mitch.
Yep.
Roddy's actually the bump man at the moment. He's actually escaped the pits there, so didn't ruin Lime Mitch's lap. So Roddy's the bump man. He's in 10th. We've only got 11 cars, in fact, that have set a lap so far. So,
well, Devonish is about to make that 12, and then it'll just be Brenton Foley left over. So Will goes 0.3 of a second behind Stenberg, but I saw Stenberg with a green. With a green box on the middle sector.
He's aborted that lap.
He's actually aborted the lap on the main straight, so you want to get out of there pretty quick. He's got I was going to say he's got a yellow flag, so he didn't want to impede anybody behind, which was Dane Liccardo, who doesn't improve. Oh, there's a late mover up the order. There goes. I thought that was Dane Liccardo for a minute. I do apologise. It's Chris Pither has actually moved up the order, so that's P3.
Yeah, great to see Chris Pither joining the series. And those who get the joke, they'll know what we mean. They'll know who is Chris Pither. Yes,
we'll know precisely that. We'll let the debating on the comments in the live stream commence.
It's a very humorous joke, actually. It's arisen from one of the drivers. Doesn't rate Chris Pither as an operator, so of course the first thing one of us has decided to do was join the server named as Chris Pither. And in fact, it's actually funny because, the person who doesn't rate Chris Pither that highly as a driver, he actually doesn't find the joke funny anymore. In fact, he doesn't actually care. So when we try and wind him up about it, he doesn't take the bait. So I guess the joke ended there. Chris Pither is actually up by half a tenth.
Yep. And the comments are coming thick and fast. I'm pretty sure everybody's already cottoned on to the joke. So the comments are coming thick and fast, and everyone's pretty much spot on the money right now. So let's see what the old Chris Pither wedding can do. Improves by 8 thousandths of a second. Well, it's an improvement. Let's call it that. That's all it is. Now, I'm a bit concerned here, Hans, because there's only one man who's yet to set a lap time, and that's this gentleman, our defending champion, Brenton Foley. He's had a bit of a torrid time out there to try and set a lap, and here he comes now.
Here we go. Speaking of the devil, he's out there. 10 minutes to go. I think he's just waiting for the track state to grip up a little bit. Had a look earlier in the session, and it it was light. It's still showing light for me, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, he's had a few aborted laps. He's been out there at least once or twice, and there was a couple of aborted attempts at a lap. So 10 minutes into the session, I imagine he's probably just gone back and recollected his thoughts. He's just waiting for an opportunity to come back out onto the track and maybe a little bit more gripped up.
Yeah, definitely important to wait until the track surface is gripped up before you set your Hollywood lap time. But the lap time for Kurt Stenberg, it's looking very, very good at the moment.
His teammate, though, is currently in P5. Here he is. He's just coming round Stoner Corner now to go on board with the roof cam. Oh, got on the curb. The car got a bit loose as well. And that put him a lot further wide of the ideal line that he wanted for turn 4.
That's ruined that lap.
And that's ruined that lap. Yeah, and he's not happy. It's on the ripple strip as well, on the concrete. And the car doesn't, just even from the onboard, the car doesn't look very happy. So he was 42 thousandths of a second up at the Sector 1 split. But all of that would have been lost by that little excursion that he's had out of on the run to turn 4.
Yeah, on the run to turn 4, it's easy to do there. If you're flat out at turn 3, you can go flat out at this version of the circuit. Oh, we just see Limich go off in the background, but he's lost a whole lot of time. He's lost 3/10 in the middle sector, and you can tell he's not quite happy with the car. He's drifting it around, Brennan Ross, but he's stepped in to take over the mantle from Phil Boak. And as you can see, the 444 on what formerly was the 046 car. So Brendan Ross, he'll go in for another lap, but not an ideal lap from B. Ross there.
No, definitely not. Let's go and pick up his teammate, see what he's up to. So he's on his first flying lap.
Just about to get to the first sector now. This is where his teammate came to grief.
Oh,
and
he's up. Have a
by
look at
1/10
that.
of a second. Very good. Very good sector there. But the sector split is actually in the braking zone, so you might lose a little bit there. So let's see how he goes at the second sector split, which is also at another braking zone into MG as you come up over the rise into Lukey Heights and plunge down into MG.
Yeah, the braking
A
zone.
lot of elevation change on this circuit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the braking zone for MG coming up is just on the other side of the hill, but the
Oh,
timing
he's
mark.
wide. He's wide.
He's lost that there. The time. Oh, and he's around.
Oh no, he's around.
The timing marker
So that's
is.
put 4 flat spots on that tire,
Yep.
on those set of tires.
The timing marker is literally just there as soon as you get to the curb on the left-hand side. So he's gonna. I'm not sure if he's gonna abort or if he's gonna go around and have another go. He's only got 6.5 minutes left, so he's got to at least get something on the board to work with. The cutoff at the minute is Matt Cecil's 132.8, and he's actually, or it's a 132.8 in general because Cam Rutledge has done an 8 as well, a 32.819, Cecil with a 32.874. So that's the marker he's got to get to that's the delta time that he needs to chase to get into the shootout right now.
Just had Rhodey drop out of the game at the moment, so maybe a computer issue for him. He's just recently put his computer back together. Oh, Foley's ruined his lap again, coming out of turn 2.
Too greedy on the loud pedal.
Very easy to do there as well. So this a lot of long corners at Phillip Island. It's all about patience on the throttle. Patience is the key, Steve.
It certainly is. This man's been showing a little bit of patience tonight with learning the circuit, and Dane Liccardo getting a little bit of help from the Nether driving school in terms of picking his lines and when to pick the throttle up. He's been improving, which is good. The lap time that he has set is a 1 minute 34.98. He has gone a little bit quicker than that in the practice session, and he needs to pull all that out right now to leap up the order, but nearly 0.4 of a second away on his PB right now.
We'll give the kid some credit because apparently he runs without ABS, nor does he run traction control. So he's learning the tough way, but a few more sessions in the race car and he'll be going good.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Just to answer Luke Rosella's comment in the live stream about why he's not in the AAR car, there's a bit of a mouthful. It's to do with the assists. Because the AAR car is in the Pro A category, he wasn't actually able to turn on the traction control because he was feeling there was he was having a little bit of a trouble learning the circuit with the traction control fully off. So He's put the track onto the GRM car, the car he ran last time out, so he can put the traction control on low, and he can at least get a bit of a feel for this circuit. He may very well step up into the AAR car next week, depending how he goes.
Have a look at the progress of Brenton Foley. He's just about to come across the line to start a flying lap. Hopefully he can put this one together. Otherwise, this would be a very unceremonious exit from qualifying for him.
I think if you're under a 132 at the moment, Hans, you're safe. With 132 cut off is Turmo, so he's in 6th place with the 32 flat. Everybody under the 132, I don't think is probably going to feel particularly comfortable right now, and will be doing their darndest to pump some more lap times in. And that includes this man who's up. We've seen this before. We've seen him up at this particular split. He's up on his own PB by a little bit, but he's also miles up on the current provisional position 1 leader at the moment. But we've got to see how he handles this next sector of the course. Lukey Heights is where he struck trouble last time. Just a little bit of curb, not too much more. Doesn't get too greedy. How's his line for Lukey Heights? It's a little bit narrow. Some guys will take a little bit of a wider line and try and take a late apex approach. Look
Bit
at
of a lock brake.
Look at the
Front
split
left
though.
locked as he still had some steering lock to the left on.
Oh, he needed to probably pull 3rd gear there a little, or if he hadn't short shifted, I think he did. He was 32 thousandths down on the pole time, but this time will be good enough to vault him up the order. It'll put him in the shootout with 2 3/4 minutes to go. Probably about a mid-31. No, it's a 30.889. He's actually gone to the top. He found time in the final sector.
A provisional lap record for Brenton Foley and provisional pole to boot. But the big times will be set in the shootout. But he has cemented himself there. 1 lap. He only had 1 chance to do it. And he's delivered with a 1:30.899. Very good.
Very, very good lap. Now the answer in qualifying comes back to this man. He says, Kurt Stenberg, I see your 1 minute 30.9 and I raise you a 1 minute 30.8. What have you got in return?
Kurt Stenberg is out on another flying lap. He's just about to enter turn 3, Stoner Corner. Long left-hander. Struggle to go through flat there. And he's up on his own time by a 10th, but he's down a 10th on Foley.
Rossi's going to get out of the way here. Oh, we've got a spinner. We've got a spinner at turn 4. Who's that? Is that Devonish or is that Turmo that's gone around there?
Devonish, actually. Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It was. So
he got out of the way very quickly, so good smart driving there. And Stenberg, he continues on with this lap. Just making his way past Hayshed now.
Little bit.
And that's that line he takes. He takes it, he goes out wide slightly more. But it's almost better to sometimes just hug the inside a little bit more. And he's up by 19 thousandths of a second.
And this is the reverse as per what it was the last time around for Foley.
We'll have a look if Stenberg can reach the benchmark set by Foley. And what will it be?
The answer is
it's a
no.
39.2.
So he lowers
Couldn't do it in the end, so he lost it in the last sector.
Lowers his PB, but he doesn't get the honour at the moment of being the last man out in the shootout. But he is going to go again.
He's going to get 1 more lap.
Now the next question I have is who's going to be the last man to cross the line that will get another lap in. We'll stay with Stenberg to see what he can do. McMillan is just coming up to Lukey Heights now. He's 25 seconds away, so he probably is going to be the next man to register his last lap.
Oh, he's only 15 thousandths of a second off the pole, or provisional pole time rather. He's 0.6 of a second up on his own PB. So this is going to be, or as he likes to say, this is going to be a bit of a heater from McMillan.
Yep, late minute
Makes
charge
his way
up the
through
order.
the final corner.
Now I've got Dane Liccardo will be the next man to set a lap time. The line Mitch is out there, but I think he's actually on an out lap. Late one from McMillan goes P3. Big improvement. Very big improvement. Look at the
how
top
close
3.
they are.
The top 3 covered by nothing at the moment.
Covered by half a tenth of a second right now, so that's fantastic.
Great late charge from McMillan. Lime Mitch
Devonish is up.
but
Devonish is up to the second sector. And he's
Liccardo
up by a tenth.
to the line, goes very, very close to matching his PB, but he doesn't get into the shootout. So he's unfortunately out. And we go, and we cycle back to, the 20-minute session, I think, has actually finished up. So I'm not sure what's happened there. There was a couple of guys that were on some laps. So a little bit of something that we weren't expecting, the timeout on the end of the session. But we do have a final order. And the three men to miss out on the shootout, Matt Cecil, Rhodey, and Dane Liccardo, have unfortunately been relegated to, as they say in Formula 1 terms, the drop zone. So your top 10, which will go out in reverse order. So we'll read them off from 10 through 1. So Cam Rutledge will be out first. From Lime Mitch, Steve Burko, Brendan Ross, Chris L.W. Pither, Termo, Will Devonish, Thomas McMillan, Kurt Stenberg, and Brenton Foley will have the honour of being the last man out.
A couple of blokes got cut off on their final flying lap. I believe Matt Cecil, Kurt Stenberg, Dane Liccardo, and Will Devonish. And Cecil probably believes he could have made it up into the top 10. And Will Devonish and Kurt Stenberg were up on their respective personal best times. They probably could have given the top two a bit of a shake there, but unfortunately not to be.
I've got a funny feeling that I probably know why that may have happened. They had the session, the 20-minute session that ran was actually classed as a practice session. They've moved over to qualifying is being treated as the shootout, so that's probably why the practice time. Yeah. That's probably why the timer is finished where it has. The server timeout probably needed to be extended just a little bit to cover that. But we're just getting set at the moment and working out everybody that's going to go in order. So there'll be, I believe, a couple of messages just flying around to get everybody ready for this session. What we might do is we might have a little bit of a look here, Hans, at the the upcoming events, just to see how things are going. But we're just waiting. Actually, just seeing in the game, there's a couple of drivers that are on the move, and I actually think we've got somebody going out already. So I believe we might actually be about to see the first of the hot laps here. So bit of an unusual thing. We're actually seeing Chris Pith has gone out one. So I'm wondering whether that's a pre-arranged thing here. But we'll have to wait and see.
I've received word from Brendan Ross that Chris Pither will be going first due to time constraints. So perhaps Cam Rutledge not ready for whatever reason. So Chris L.W. Pither, we should say. He's going to be out there. He's on his out lap now. And he'll be looking to get the tyres temperatures and pressures normalised. And looking for a good shootout lap here.
All right, so let's hone in on his best lap of the session. So his lap to get into the shootout, he did qualify in 6th place overall. It was a 1 minute 31.784. And when you look at the lap on the screen here, that lap time, his best sector was sector 2. All the other sectors, in sector 1 and sector 3, he actually had better sectors on other laps. So you put all those lap times together, all those sector times together, he would have probably done about a 31.5. So the datum time he'll be chasing is probably going to be that benchmark of a 31.784. And he is on the run to turn 1. Let's have a look from his perspective, or from the passenger seat next door to him. Big commitment through turn 1. Oh, it's overcommitted in the braking zone. And he's off
it straight away.
He's off the road at turn 2, and it's a very common mistake.
Look, just a little bit too wide there, so he probably should have hugged the curb a little bit more, but he should get a move on here because there is potential for others to make a mistake later on in the session.
Yeah, we saw this at Bathurst last year. Even if you make a mistake, you don't want to just throw the lap away. You want to keep going, because we did see Phil Boak make a mistake coming into the chase, missed a gear, but he did finish the lap. and it was to his benefit because Will Devonish threw his lap away, and Phil Boak ended up starting a position higher than he otherwise would have.
So Chris Bither is making his way up past the formerly named Hayshed, or it still is named Hayshed. There used to be a Hayshed there, not anymore, up through Lukey Heights. Car is looking very unhappy here, so perhaps didn't normalise temperatures and pressures as much as he would have liked, but look at that, he's 4 seconds down. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a big margin to make up.
Absolute shocker for Loose Pither. And he's just coming to turn 12 now, Steve.
Yeah, through the final corner. Going to be disappointed with this lap. Going to drive to the line. It's going to be in the realms of a 1:35 here. 35.2. So, not the lap he was hoping for. He'll continue on, and we'll pick up our next man who's getting ready to tackle the hot lap. And it's this man. He's been in the shootout before. The one and only electrician himself, Cam Rutledge.
We'll have a chat to Chris LW Pither there. Chris, not an ideal lap. You bended at turn 2 straight away.
Yeah, not ideal. Turned into turn 1, decided to just try a little bit harder here in the shootout, but just overcooked it under brakes at turn 2.
We've got the race next week. Are you keen for that?
Yeah, haven't done too much limited running here, but it is a fun little racetrack. It should be a firecracker next week, mate.
Well, commiserations on your shootout lap, but hopefully next week the race will come good for you. Thanks, Chris.
Go Hans, F in the chat.
Cam Rutledge starts his lap aboard the 015 machine. His lap to get into the shootout, a 132.819. His best sector on that particular lap, out of all the sectors he did, was the last sector. So, very strong in the last sector. Been practicing with Will Devonish through the week. Let's see how that translates to a lap here in the shootout. A little bit wide of the line through Stoner Corner, taking a different approach to everybody else, using a lot more road. Pulls it up very, very nicely for Honda. Doesn't use too much of the exit curb, just drives it nice and straight. Oh, very lucky.
See the car just kick loose there.
Yeah, very lucky not to swap ends on him there. Tried to go for the high line through Siberia and then get that late apex and try and get the drive out and up the back part of the section of the circuit. Now through turn 8, leaves a little bit of margin on the table at Hayshed, which is good. A little bit of a brake lock up getting into Lukey Heights. Aside from the little awkward moment at Siberia, a very, very tidy lap so far. Just looked like the car bogged down a little bit trying to get out of MG though.
He lost a little bit of time in the middle sector. He was up by 3 seconds at the first sector and only 2.5 in the middle sector. So we'll see what the lap looks like when he crosses across the line. It's going to be a very solid lap from Rutledge.
He's improved in all sectors as well. He improved in all sectors, improved his time to a 32. It was a 32.8. He lost most of it in the last sector though. His first 2 sectors were pretty good, actually better than his qualifying performance, but it was all in that final sector where it went. He was tracking towards a 32.6 before that happened. So he's done pretty well to match his lap time. Can you be pretty happy with that? 32.8 in quali, slightly slower, but it's still a 32.8 in the shootout.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that lap. Just wanted to keep it nice and clean and not make any mistakes. So I probably had a little bit more left in me, probably about 0.3 or 0.4, but yeah, definitely happy with that lap.
Just bogged down a little bit coming out of MG by the look of it.
Yeah, I was probably not my best turn 2 either, but yeah, definitely happy for the lap and to be in the 10.
Very good, nice job. And take a seat and watch the rest of the show, buddy. Well done.
No worries, thanking you.
Lion Mitch is on his hot lap now. He's just making his way through turn 2, the southern loop. And the car is looking very edgy here. Lion Mitch, he really grabs the neck of it and really tries to drag the lap time out of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does. His lap time to get in was a 32.3, so he was 0.5 of a second quicker than Cam Rutledge, and a 30.5 to the first sector is not too far away. Actually, in fact, I think it's better than his lap that he did to get into the shootout. So it was a 30.5 that time around. It was a 30.7 was hit on his quickest lap. So tracking like he's going to be 0.2 of a second up here if he can maintain the rage through Sector 2. Just feathering.
He's known for his flamboyant driving as well, like Mitch. He did get from last to first fantastic racing at the Bahrain circuit in the GT3s, and he also finished second in the AMS Oz Super 2 Championship.
He's found more time in that second sector too. He's found another 10th compared to what he did in qualifying. So at the moment, looking like he might be able to get to a 32 flat. He just doesn't use all the exit curb on the run out of the final corner. Is he going to get under a 32? He does. He found more time again. He goes to a 31.6. Very, very nice lap and a very, very big improvement over his qualifying performance by some 0.7 of a second.
And we've got Lime Mitch on the line now. Mitch, great lap from yourself, mate. Beat your lap to get into the shootout with a 31.6. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was all right. Managed to fix the car up a bit in between sessions, which was a bit risky, but yeah, I think it paid off a little bit.
Now, you're probably going to vault up the order with this time, but we've known you for your forceful driving, especially in the GT3 from last to first. Can you put on a good show for us next week?
I hope so. I doubt it'll be quite to first, but I'll give it a crack.
Great lap, mate, and good luck for next week.
Steve Burko, Loose Sim Sport FGX Falcon, his time to get in, a 1:32.000. So, well, he's going to have a bit of a mountain to climb here, isn't he, Hans? He's got to get well into the 31s.
The Super 2 Championship for this season, if there's anyone who can do it, it's definitely Burko. He's definitely come on strong, and he's earned his promotion to the Loose Sim Sport main team. After racing the Builders Traffic Management Volvo for the early part of the season, he's making his way through Stoner Corner now into the first sector. We'll have a look at and he's only down by 0.09 of a second, so reasonable time there. And he goes just a little bit wide there.
Uses all of it.
Burko, he's known for his unique driving style, and he doesn't blip the throttle on the downshifts. Right foot braker. And he sets the car up uniquely for himself. So Steve Burko, he's got a very good feel with his own setups. And believe me, if he can pull out a good time, he will be able to.
His best lap that he produced in qualifying was his last lap. And he was up by a fraction on his own PB from qualifying at Sector 1. Just pulled it a little bit too aggressively at turn 10 there, just to try and open his corner. And he's on the slide as well. That's going to hurt.
The final corner now for Burko, and it looks like he's going to repeat what he did in the main qualifying to get into the shootout. We'll have a look to see if he can beat his qualifying time.
No, he doesn't.
Actually, no, fairway down 32.4 from Burko. So we'll get his thoughts in a moment.
Yeah, lost most of that in the third sector, and he was 0.2 of a second slower in Sector 2. So it was pretty much spot on the money for Sector 1, but it went a little bit backwards after that, Steve.
Yeah, got a little tail happy coming out of MG and corner after that, so kind of ruined my lap there, and even coming out of Siberia, I was a little bit hesitant to get on the throttle.
Oh, well, not to worry. You're still in a pretty handy position. You weren't that far away from your PB in qualifying, but you would definitely have liked a little bit more.
Just a bit of fine-tuning and we should be all right.
Smarting a race car up, mate. You got a week to think about it. Well done.
Thank you, mate.
Time for Brendan Ross, Hans. Late entry into the server. Vaulted up the order a bit late, and he will be our 5th runner on circuit.
Looking quick in the qualifying, but a few mistakes sort of ruined his laps. But Brendan Ross, he's the 5th car out in the shootout. Let's see if he can put a good lap together. Lime Mitch has really thrown down the gauntlet early with the 31.68. And if he can keep that up, he might be able to guarantee himself a good spot for next week.
Lime Mitch is king of the one-lap dash in Super 2 qualifying as well. So I think this setup, or the session setup tonight, kind of helps him a little bit, that it just basically go out there, all guns blazing, and lay it down. And we saw this from him as well at Bathurst qualifying last year in Super 2, that he was one of very few drivers to improve their lap time from qualifying and found himself about 4 spots better than what he entered the shootout in.
Absolutely, he thrives on the on the pressure in a top 10 shootout. And Brendan Rossi's making his way up to Lukey Heights. Hugs the inside curb there, goes wide, then hugs the inside again. Oh, couldn't get the nose back in, so he's in the middle of the road, and the time shows that. So he's 0.6 down. So if this trend keeps continuing, it looks like he might even be behind Burkow at this stage. But Brendan Ross, he's got one corner to go. Let's see if he can make it count.
Very wide at the final corner, though. He's not going to get any time back by doing that. That was very wide of the line you wanted to take through there. And I think you're right, Hans. I think he's going to slot in between Burkow and Rutledge here, and he does. He slots in with a 32.6, so he's definitely left a lot of time on the table.
Try and get a bit of contact with Rossi now. And Rossi, third place at the moment, but not an ideal lap.
Not ideal, but just keeping it conservative. Didn't want to throw it off the road and make a silly mistake, but just good to be in the top 10 shootout and yeah, represent PBF tonight.
We'll hope that you can put together a good race next week and give it a good show.
Cheers, guys. Go Hans.
Thanks to B Ross there. He put in a good lap in the shootout. Very conservative lap, but nonetheless, he's got the car home in one piece.
Termo on the move now. So first 5 have completed. The second 5 are about to commence their laps. And it's this man, our driver in focus for this week. CRE Motorsport Pro B, Termo, the Terminator. How does he attack this 4.445 kilometre circuit? Nice and steady through turn 1. Off to Southern Loop. His time, incidentally, to get into the shootout was a 1:31.553. So his lap is the only driver that has been better than what Lime Mitch has posted so far in this shootout session. If he can replicate that, he will be provisionally top of the pile.
We'll have a look what the first split looks like. He's just coming out of the exit of Stoner Corner and into Honda Corner, and he looks like he's taking a very late apex there, so he's probably overshot the braking mark. He's nearly 0.2 down at the first sector for Termo.
Yeah, 0.3 off what he did in qualifying. It was a 30.7 there, and he did 30.4 to Sector 1 on his best lap. But he can redeem himself here up the back if he can get the car hooked up. Again, looking very, very neat and tidy, not asking too much of the car, driving it very straight, not pushing the limits, just a little brake lock up there on the braking approach to Lukey Heights. But so far very measured, very much in control. Lost a lot of time though, so again, thinking maybe he's taking the Brendan Ross thought here and maybe just trying to put something on the table rather than nothing at all.
Yeah, more of a banker lap for Termo, but whatever he drives, he's always there or thereabouts. So in the race next week, we can expect a good result from him if he can stay out of trouble. Termo is about to cross the line now for his hot lap.
Going to be about mid-32, I think, here. Yep, 32.6. So, oh, geez, just slots in behind Brendan Ross by 0.03 of a second. So he wasn't far off there of going one position slightly higher. He'll continue on for another couple of corners.
What a great lap from Lime Mitch. Well done, Lime Mitch. Big pressure circumstances, and he's guaranteed himself a terrific spot for next week. Maybe even the top spot. We'll find out the answer to that in a moment when the big guns come out to conclude this shootout.
Well, the big guns are starting to come out already, and the first one of them is this man, Will Devenish, teammate to the man we just saw. The 15 machine. Unfortunately for him, this year has sort of been, as they like to say, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's sort of found himself in too many second places. He needs to pull one back, and what a better opportunity to do it than right now.
He can definitely put a good lap together when he wants to. Will Devenish, he's done a lot of testing, and hopefully the setup on the car will yield a good lap time for him. He's actually taken turn 2 a lot better than any other car I've seen so far. He's used the first and second apex very good. Oh, probably misses the second apex there, gets it out wide, or rather right out sideways, as a certain MS would say. And Will Devenish will see the sector split. He's going to be up, but he's only up by 0.08 of a second, so not as good of a run as we would have expected. But Devenish, this is where the real Hollywood lap times are going to come up.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think just a little bit of that wiggle coming out of turn 2 as he didn't pick up the second apex. The car jumped sideways. That would have cost him a little bit of time because he wouldn't have been able to get the power down to the ground at the rate that he wanted it, so it hurt his drive out of the corner, therefore hurt his top speed getting into the braking zone for 4. But he's super committed through Lukey Heights in the braking zone. Everybody's seeming to locking brakes on the run there. And he's found some more time. Again, locks the brake in the braking zone at MG. So at the moment, tracking towards going to be a 31.3 if he can maybe pick up another little bit of time here, which will still be a very good benchmark to beat on a one-lap dash.
Middle sector in the 105s, that's already going to be a good lap. We'll see what Devonish can do across the line. And he'll cross the line. What's he going to bring? He's going to bring a 31.2. So very solid lap there from Devonish.
0.2 of a second off the lap he had posted to get into the shootout. So he'd be probably pretty happy with that he got relatively close. Of course, you always like a little bit more in the shootout. And he's with us now. Will, not a bad lap time. A little bit off what you did to get into the shootout, but I guess you'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Bit taily, a bit more taily than I was expecting. But yeah, can't really complain with that. Best we could have done.
Well, what do you do now? You sit back and cross your fingers, I think. You're on the top of the pile with 3 cars to go.
Yep. Fingers crossed, and yeah, see what happens. But yeah, really stoked that all 3 cars were able to get into the top 10. Couldn't really ask for more at the moment. Good team, man, as always. Pull up a pew, mate. And let's watch Thomas McMillan aboard the 248 Pleb Simsport VB Commodore. Oh, he's gone wide. He's gone wide. He kicked up a little bit of grass, but he managed to keep it pointing the right direction. So that's a very lucky moment for him, Hans.
He's got a bit wide at turn 2 as well. He didn't quite get the nose in as early as he would have liked, but I could only imagine that when he crossed the line and he saw that the Delta bar was green, he could only have said, "I'm on a heater, boys. I'm on a heater." And maybe he is on a heater. We're going to look at the first sector split now. He's up there with Will. So it's about 500ths off. So let's see if Thomas can do a heater through the second sector. And boy, he really loves a good heater, doesn't he?
Oh, he loves a good heater. I'm wondering if he's sitting on a heater sometimes. If that's the words that come out of his mouth. But it's a good analogy to say where you're on a heater instead of on a hot lap. His best time in qualifying was a 30.954, not far behind his good mate Kurt Stenberg's 30.926. So they'll be aiming at a 31. He's in the game,
Lost
but
a bit of time there.
He's still in the game though. But he needs to have a good last sector if he's to claw back any of that deficit and give himself a chance.
Oh, he's off the road! He's off the road! No!
He's not going to do it that way. Just got again too greedy on the throttle. We've seen a few drivers do that tonight. Just pick up the throttle too early. Car understeers straight onto the grass.
Oh no!
And
that's the risk versus reward, Steve. That's the thing. You've got to be calculated.
Yep.
You've got to be calculated. And he's in 3rd at the moment, but he's going to be probably at worst 5th by the end of this session. And we'll try and get a word with him now. Thomas McMillan.
We're looking for him to see where he is, and yeah, got him now, Hans.
Thomas, looking like you're on a heater there, mate, but unfortunately just went off the road at the critical time in the last sector.
Oh, mate, that car did not feel good. That felt terrible. The tyres are under pressure, so yeah, it wasn't good. Terrible lap. I tried to compensate for the terrible start to the lap and middle part, and yeah, just ruined it there. But yeah. What can you do?
Now, Thomas, you did have good pace getting into the shootout, so maybe we can expect more of that in the race.
Yeah, I hope so. I did my first laps here in qualifying. I haven't driven here for like a year, so it was good to come back to Phillip Island. And yeah, I'll find my pace, I'm sure of it. But yeah, keen for the race.
Not an ideal lap, mate, but hopefully next week will bring the goods for you.
Yeah, thank you, boys.
Kurt Stenberg's on his flying lap now. Took a very different approach to Southern Loop compared to what a lot of drivers we've seen. Took a wider approach through a late entry in the apex into turn 1. And it's paid dividends. He's up a 1/4 of a second on the time from Will Devonish. So provisionally looking like the TTR Commodore will go to the top of the pile if he can keep it together for the remaining 2 sectors. It looks really good at the moment, Hans. I wouldn't want to bet against him right now.
Kurt Stenberg, he's just like his idol, Mark Scave. He's missed a commitment, 110%. He is on maximum attack right now. That car, he is absolutely breaking it on the limit everywhere. Every single part of the corner, he's on the limit.
Oh, a little bit of a moment there.
Look at that big slide over Lukey Heights.
Yeah,
let's have a look at the second split.
Look at the
he's
split,
up by 0.4 of a second. Look at that.
Finding time hand over fist.
105.375 from Stenberg. Now, this is the critical point where his teammate, or rather his mate Thomas McMillan, went off the road. and he keeps it on the road there. Final corner now. Can he get a good run onto the main straight? Can he stitch it all together?
It looks very good. The sectors are looking good. I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge this time. It's going to be very difficult. It's a 30.7.
1:37.9 for Stenberg.
He lost a little bit of time in that final sector, but not very much. But not that it mattered, because not only does he go top of the pile, it's currently the new track record for qualifying as well. He will be absolutely stoked with that. Stenny, you agree?
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked with that. This is a track that I must admit I was very nervous. I just said it to Rhodey before I started my lap out there, and because I don't feel like I'm particularly good at this track, and I've smashed my time I did to get in here somehow.
Yeah, 0.2 of a second clear of your qualifying time to get in. One of very few men at the moment to better their qualifying time. You've got a front row at worst. At best, you've got a pole. So only one more driver to go, and I'm sure you'll be watching with interest.
I will be watching with interest. I hope I've done enough, mate.
We're about to find out. Brenton Foley, number 1 on the door, reigning champion from last year. The only man left that can unseat Kurt Stenberg from the top of the pile. He'll want that track record back, but I think as well as that, he'll probably just be happy to finish on the front row. So what part of the sword do you flip here, Hans? What edge do you want to pick?
You just need to be cool, calm and collected, and Brenton Foley, he usually is, and he was setting some really hot lap times in the previous qualifying session to get into the shootout. Provisional pole, let's see if he could replicate that. He's actually down by nearly 0.2 on Stenberg's lap. But can he bring that back in the second sector? He's actually stronger in the first sector than he was in the second. But he needs to put a good lap together. There is a race to run 1 week from now. It's not all about tonight.
No, definitely not. And having a look at his best lap time in qualifying, a 30.193 in the first sector.
Oh, he's off!
Oh, not quite off, but he was very close to going off. 30.4 that time around, so he lost a lot of time on his own PB in Sector 1. And, yeah, he's now down a half second. So he's going to look to try and claw a little bit of that back, I think, through this final sector and go up to the front row if he can get it together. It's going to be a bit difficult here.
Best he can do at the moment is a front row start. He's probably too far away from Stenberg, but he is competitive with Will Devonish at the moment. Across the line, what's it going to be for Foley?
Second!
It's into second!
Found some
front
time.
Row start for Foley.
He found some time late, and he found it when it mattered. Vaults himself, I think that's got to be his best qualifying position of the year, I think, as well. I can't recall seeing him on the front row at all so far this year. And, well, I think once he realised that the gig was up and he was struggling to match the Stenberg time, that he was pretty much just consigned to trying to consolidate a front row start.
And we've got Foley on the line now, mate. Not an ideal lap, a few mistakes, and we know you were fast in the first sector, and unfortunately it was down, so it was going to be more difficult to bring it back from there, but a good front row start at that.
Yeah, happy to be second. I just wanted to be towards the front, but yeah, as you said, first sector wasn't ideal. I missed my apex really at turn 1, and it kind of ruined it from there. But overall, I didn't think I'd be this fast, and being 0.8 faster than I was last year, I'm taking that as a positive.
Fantastic run to get into the shootout. So we know you've got pace on board, and hopefully next week you can give the top of the ladder a bit of a shake there, mate.
Fingers crossed. I worked more on race setup really in the practice session today more than qualifying, because I knew that'd be a bit more important, and hopefully it's paid off.
We'll have to wait till the other side.
But it's been a bit of a torrid season for you so far, but hopefully you can bring the goods next week, mate. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, and with that, qualifying is complete and the shootout is complete for the Phillip Island 250. That'll set the grid. So just to recap the order as they qualified. Kurt Stenberg, new track record, a 1 minute 30.791. He, along with Lime Mitch, were the only two drivers to improve their laps from qualifying. Brenton Foley on the P2. Row 2 is Will Devonish and Lime Mitch. We always keep saying Lime Mitch is one of the kings of the one lap dash in Super 2, and he really showed today that he can vault himself up the order when he needs to, and held the top spot for a couple of runners as well. Thomas from Irland and Steve Burko share row 3. Brendan Ross and Termo Share row 4, and then Cam Rutledge and Chris Pither on the 5th row. The guys that didn't make the shootout, Matt Cecil, Rhodey and Dane Liccardo will be in positions 11, 12 and 13 with a couple of extra runners to compete next week when the going really kicks up a notch, Hans.
Now, the turnout tonight was a little bit lean, but it wasn't short on any action in the shootout. It was fantastic. We saw some mistakes. We saw some great laps put together, and we saw a couple of guys vault up the order. We saw Lime Mitch especially. He vaulted up the order. That was a very good lap, and that stood at the top for a very long time. So that was a great lap from him. And in the second row start from Lime Mitch, if he can put a race together, he's gonna give a fair shake of the sauce bottle for sure.
Yeah, he'll give it a very, very big shake, I think, come race night. As we said, 57 laps around this circuit. The tyres are going to get an extreme workout, particularly that right-hand side set of tyres. So I don't know a bit early to talk about pit strategy here, Hans, because we really haven't seen the fuel burn numbers to work out how everyone's going to potentially slice and dice this next week. But it's going to be really key to see how people look after those right-hand sides.
Yeah, absolutely. The importance is just being smooth around this track, and a lot of the long corners, you do have the tendency to just crack the throttle, and we did see that in the shootout as well. So it's almost better to just almost underdrive it to an extent and just relax with the car and try not to use the tyres up too quickly.
Well, speaking of next week, that's what we look towards now, the list of upcoming events for Automobilista Australia for next week. And it's I was about to say it's a double header, but in fact it's a triple header next week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So the one we're looking forward to, I think, the most outside of the Phillip Island 250 on the Thursday is the GT3 Sprint Series finale. It is Pete Savage versus Will Devonish for honours, and the circuit of choice is Road Atlanta. That is going to be one hell of a GT3 Sprint Series finale next Tuesday, the 22nd of September, right here on the Outworld Broadcasting Channel. Hans, you've been taking part in a couple of the races there. You were involved in the Porsche Cup race that was at Road Atlanta not too long ago. What do you read about this circuit? How are these GT3 drivers going to take on this unique challenge?
Yeah, Road Atlanta, fantastic circuit, and a lot of curvy sort of S's type sections, and it's all about the balance there. It can become understeery very quickly, it can become oversteery very quickly, and the turn 5, the uphill left-hander, it can all go wrong there. We did see a few cars go off, and if you get it really wrong, you could go flying through the infield. But a couple of good passing opportunities at Road Atlanta, and looking forward to a good GT3 sprint round there.
Yeah, we certainly will. And that'll be the finale, not just for the GT3 Sprint Series, but it'll be the finale for GT3 in general here at Automobilista Australia for 2020 at this stage. For those that were looking forward to the Endurance Series, that has just been put on the back burner for a little bit just due to some time constraints. So we'll pick that up a little bit later on, probably early next year. We'll sort something out for that. Then the following night, the ATCC Group A cars will tackle Sandown, another one of the most popular series that's got a huge amount of traction and a huge amount of drivers. Michael the Floodman Zalavari, Kiwi Chris Riddell over at the Endurance Chat Media channel will look after the broadcast proceedings for that one. And then we get to the 250k race for the Supercars next Thursday, 24th of September, 1 week from now. And then the next race after all of that settles down is the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit round, a pair of Queensland rounds in consecutive fortnight for the Porsche Cup field on the 29th of September. And of course, the Supercars round next week is the last round before we get to this little beauty, the Bathurst 500. There's quite a large gap between Supercars rounds for the field, and already starting to see some really, really cool liveries coming in, Hans, for this one. And I got getting word there might be a couple of reveals coming next week.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see some interesting reverse retro liveries for the Sandown round of the ATCC, and that's going to be fantastic to look at. And it's a bit of a different concept. We're racing the retro cars, but new liveries on them. So we're going to see who can put together some interesting liveries, and it's fantastic. The cars are very colourful in that series, and it's a good fun series to just be a part of.
Yeah, well, some of those ATCC liveries I think are going to be transferring across to the Bathurst 500 as well. So that'll be something interesting we see. We've already seen a few guys designing some really cool things. Luke Rosella's put together some really nice retro Volvo stuff as well. And we look to see what else some of the other drivers can conjure up in the weeks ahead. We'll leave it there for proceedings tonight. Thanks for joining us for qualifying and the top 10 shootout. We'll see you in a week's time for the 250k endurance race. Please drive safely. See you then. Bye for now.